The following program was paid for by Templar Real Estate. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major decision. It's time now for the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Here's your host for the program, Joseph J. Zoppi.
Hello, welcome to the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. My name is Joseph J. Zoppi, a real estate investor, consumer advocate, author, and managing partner of Templar Real Estate Enterprises. You could reach us at templarcashforhouses.com. That's TEMPLAR cashforhouses.com. That's one word. Or you could call us at 973-240-8593 and we can answer any questions you may have. Or you could email us from our website, again, to ask any questions, or if you want something discussed on this radio show. For first-time listeners, my company is a real estate investment firm. We buy houses for cash, we purchase apartment buildings, we do joint ventures with other real estate investors, we loan money for rehabs and provide transactional and gap funding as well. We work with individuals who want to invest with us in single-family houses up to apartment buildings. We do not speculate, and we're very protective of our money and our investors' money. We're not a brokerage, and I'm not a real estate agent, but I have individuals on staff that are agents that could sell your house through the traditional multiple listing service. This show is going to go over everything there is about real estate and those things that impact real estate. We'll talk about our rehabs, some of our investments, what went well, what did not go well, and how we learned from them. Real estate is one of your biggest investments, so it's important you know as much as possible about it. I'm going to provide you with my opinion. It's only my opinion. I ask everyone to do lots of research in terms of anything they want to do, in terms of a service they want to use, a person they want to provide, work with. Doesn't matter. Always ask lots of questions. One of the key questions I always tell everyone is that you have to ask individuals, well, what happens, give me examples of when something did not go well. Now, if they say, oh, everything's always gone really well for the most part, then they're lying. That's not the case. All the time, there's always issues that crop up. Sometimes all companies have to rely on other individuals, and even if it's an individual within their company, sometimes there's problems. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes there's other issues. You never know. So for anyone to say, there was no problems or there was never a problem, that's crazy. It's like using an accountant and, possibly his computer went down and it had all the information on it or something like that. You never know. But you have to ask those questions and you have to see, what the response is as a result of that. I'd also like to do a shout out to some of my listeners, Paulette, the famous crossing guard from Livingston, and also John and Cindy T. I'd like to also say hi to Timmy from Cedar Grove Water Department. Hopefully everybody's doing well, and thank you very much for listening. I also want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July weekend. Last weekend I couldn't record. I was in the middle of 1,000 things, and I wanted to make sure that I provided good content, and my head was in just 10 different places, and I didn't feel that I could provide a good radio show, and so I unfortunately skipped last week, but I was thinking that, with my tight schedule sometimes, I'm thinking of recording some additional filler shows in case, I can't make one for a particular reason. But I try very hard, and most of the time, I do have one almost every week. Right now, we're at 68 shows over the last year or so. So I can't believe I've done so many shows. I didn't think I'd last through 20 shows, let alone 68. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm happy about those individuals that had, given me compliments and, told me that they liked the show. So I'm happy for that as well. Again, if you need to sell your house fast for cash, please give us a call. Either myself or individuals stop by from my team. They'll give you an offer. Sometimes it depends if it's that day or a subsequent day. After that, if we agree upon a price, then you pick the closing date. The only thing I ask is with the closing dates, they are within like 2 months. Reason is things change a lot in this economy, especially the way things are now. So I don't want to set a price, and again, it could go up, it could go down. So I don't want that. But I'll work with you under any scenario, even if it's 6 months out. We could put something together, and then we could revisit it later. I just don't want someone to feel that if the prices go down, I'm trying to take advantage, or we're trying to take advantage of anyone. So that's why I'm always leery about giving prices after a couple months out, but closing. But sometimes it does, sometimes I'm fine with it. Depends on the house, it depends on the location, it depends on a lot of things. So, yeah, just, give us a call. Second thing is that if you want to sell through the traditional multiple listing service, please give us a yell. I got a crack team of individuals that are very good at selling through the traditional way. And also, if anybody has any large apartment buildings or groups of properties they want to close on or want us to purchase, we'd be more than happy to look at it and put an offer in. So please give us a yell on that, especially something that has multiple properties. We're very anxious to purchase, groups of properties. We do that all the time. We're working through one right now that's five houses. My inspector, because we always inspect everything, and it's more so when we do the rehab, but we want to make sure there's no major structural issues or termite damage that's substantial. Besides that, we buy the house as is, and we very rarely, even if there's some structural issues and we know about it, we're not going to come back and change the price. It's when we miss something and it's major, very major. So we have right now a group of houses that have everything from buried oil tanks to tanks that were decommissioned, but they weren't done with any permits. And this one set of houses is just unbelievable. And there's some structural issues. So we had my inspector go there. He looked at all the houses, wrote everything up, and then we sent him to another house we were closing on, and he called us back and says, "What's the Joe? There's a problem." I go, "What's the problem?" He says, "There's hardly any problems with this house." He says, "I don't usually see that from you." And I started laughing. So I said, "Yeah, I guess once in a while." So most of the time we buy a lot of houses that are a lot of problems with, but we buy all types of houses. Some that are, immaculate condition, up down to something that needs lots of work. So the next thing I like to talk about, and I brought it up briefly, is when things go sideways. So I don't have too much time in this segment. It'll probably span over to the other segment. But we had a house I talked about previously from a widower, and nice lady. Her grandson's the power of attorney, and again, really nice guy, trying to help his grandmother out. And we were in contract, and as I've said before, there's attorneys that are deal makers and there's some that are deal breakers. So from the get-go, we just had lots of issues with this one attorney. Most of the time, things go really smooth, but you get some that I don't know what their problem is. And first, he wanted like excessive money down as a deposit, and we weren't going to do that. Then he had issues because we were using lines of credit. And, I said basically is that, we have money in the bank account, but we use that, just a small portion of it, because we have deals coming in all the time. And we're very protective of what we have in our accounts because I never know when I might have like six properties I might purchase at one time. So, he was pushing back on that. And I said, we have, a few $1 million, $4 million in lines of credit. And finally, he said okay on that. And then after that, we had issues with the septic. And we were under the impression, and so was the owner, that the septic was fine, even though it wasn't replaced in 50 years, literally. So, we had an inspection on it. It failed miserably. We submitted that to the attorney. The attorney said, oh, it was very vague, the report, which it wasn't. And he wanted to give us $10,000 as a credit. And I went back and said, no, that's not the case. We need the full amount. And again, he said it was vague, the report. And I reached out to him, or my attorney did, and says, okay, then you could have another inspector take a look at it. You could speak to that the inspector that did look at it, but he didn't do that. And then he went up to 20,000, and then he was going to cancel the contract. I guess he was trying to strong arm us. And I spoke to the grandson. He said, I don't know what he was thinking, and I believe that. And we said, well, we want to both, consummate this deal. So we came to an agreement. It was going to cost approximately 40,000. I said, if it goes over 40,000, I'm going to eat the difference. And if it's under, I'll give your grandmother the difference once I find out how much it's going to cost, because there's engineering associated with it. There's a bunch of things when you're putting in a septic that you need to do. So they have to do a design and all the engineering and what type of septic you want, so on and so forth. So you really don't know until all the engineering's done, and that costs a few $1,000s plus the survey. So there's a lot involved beforehand. So we finally agreed upon that. And then there was a problem with the solar panels on the house because the lease was a horrendous lease. The elderly couple was taken advantage of, and it required that the seller had to either purchase the lease, which had $60,000 on it, or we had to purchase it basically and go through credit and so on and so forth. But I wasn't going to do that, not because of the credit situation, but because it was just a poorly written lease, and it was just horrendous. So we pushed back on that. Finally, the attorney said okay, and I told him, and I told the grandson that basically should probably default on it, and then we'll ask the solar company to take the panels off or renegotiate a deal, and then absolve any liability from the estate of the widower. And they like that. And anyway, there wasn't going to be any money left, in the estate. They were going to transfer it out to the seller. So they could have, the solar company could have went after the estate, but there wouldn't have been anything in it. And I was fine with that because they took extreme advantage of this couple. Extreme advantage. And that's one of the things you really got to look at, these solar contracts. Some of them are horrendous. So we finally resolved that. So I'm going to have to close out this segment. I will be right back. But if you need anything, please call us at 973-240-8593 or TemplarCashForHouses.com. Thanks.
Life can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you need to sell your house fast. That's why there's TemplarBuysHouses.com. Maybe you're downsizing, getting a divorce, having health or financial issues. If so, head to TemplarBuysHouses.com. TEMPLAR BuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com will buy your house quickly and without hassle. If you've inherited a house that is vacant, contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. Dealing with them is easy and quick. No high-pressure sales tactics, and you won't have to fix up the house. They will buy your house as is. You pick the closing date and when you move out. No commissions and no hassles. Contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. TEMPLAR BuysHouses.com with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Call 973-315-7990. That's 973-315-7990.
Be sure to listen to the podcast of the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Find it now at TemplarBuysHouses.com.
Hello. Welcome back to the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. My name is Joseph J. Zoppi, Managing Partner of Templar Real Estate Enterprises. You can reach us at 973-240-8593 or TemplarCashForHouses.com. That's TEMPLAR CashForHouses.com. It's one word. So, as I was saying in our previous segment about this deal and issues between the attorney and just some other stuff that came up that things went sideways on. So again, I know the attorney's looking out for his client, but certain things were previously agreed upon by myself and the grandson, and in the end they came back to the way we wanted them originally and what we really negotiated. One of the things is that when we put the contract together, they put a close date, which we were happy with, and we just changed one word and we said on or about, because there are times when things crop up and you can't close on a specific day. There's certain situations where we have to close on the specific day and it occurs, but more often than not, if it doesn't close on the specific day, it's not a big deal. So what happened was that we were supposed to close, I think it was on a Tuesday, and we didn't get confirmation from the lending institution, and things started getting close to the day of close, and the attorney called my attorney, spoke to my paralegal, and they said we don't have the funds yet because it hasn't been cleared. And the attorney got upset and said, well, it's supposed to be today. And she said, it can't be. And they said, well, we're going to, issue a time of the essence. Time of the essence is basically saying, okay, the clock starts, even though technically it started before at the close date, but there's breach of contract is time of the essence. And in New Jersey, it's about 10 days. And after that, you're in technically breach of contract. They could take the money, but you could always fight that. So it's just not a simple thing, but you really don't want to be going through that scenario and then challenging it in court and all those other things associated with that. And in the end, you want to make sure that the your client, the seller, is happy. So we were in touch with the lending institution numerous days, a week before, weeks before, and everything was tracking until the last week or so. And then we had all these issues. We had some things with the septic where we had an addendum that was sent over to the lending institution. Unfortunately, they hired an appraiser that was really over her head in terms of what she was doing, and she had a lot of problems with interpreting the contract, and she was interpreting it incorrectly. And then she wanted additional time for the appraisal, even though she had it for 3 weeks, and it's just crazy how long she had it. And normal appraisal, if you sit down, it might take 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, excluding the trip out to the house. So it was taking a really long time. Then she said she didn't have enough houses to do a proper comp, and then she wanted to do a different type of appraisal, and the lending institution pushed back, says you don't need that, because originally they told us that, and we said that's not needed. And the lending institution pushed back on that, and then she promised the appraisal the day after we were supposed to close, and that came and gone. Then I was getting kind of very crazy, to say the least. So I talked to my partner, and we have multiple lines of credit. And I said, let's contact this other institution. And they do appraisals. I said, how quick can you get us a close? They said about 7 days. I said, okay, that sounds good. And they don't do regular appraisals. They do desktop appraisals. So there's two types of appraisals. There's one where individual goes out, walks the property, goes inside the house, and then looks at, goes back to the office, looks at the comps in the area and a lot of other factors. And that's a standard appraisal. Desktop appraisal is the person never leaves the office. He receives pictures from us, and then based on the pictures and then the same information that a normal appraiser would do in terms of going onto the internet, looking at certain things, pulling up comps, so on and so forth. So there's a little difference with that. And we were asking this lending institution, can we do it? And they said, just tell us when. So we had this one lending institution ready to go. I had this other one where they're getting frustrated with the appraiser. We are frustrated with the appraiser, saying, okay, what are we going to do? Should we go with this other company, or should we stay with this? They kept promise us the appraisal is going to be done. It's going to be done. There was a lack of confidence on my side, my partner's side, and we kept giving them deadlines. When is this going to be? You should have it by this time. They were giving us deadlines. It kept passing. It was just a mess. And then finally, they said the appraisal came through. And after that, we closed in a day and a half. It was like came out like 2 o'clock. And a day and a half later, we closed finally. But I was frustrated. The attorney we were working with was very frustrated. The sales rep or the account rep at the lending institution was frustrated. The project team at the lending institution was frustrated. Everybody was frustrated. I assume the appraiser was frustrated too for getting all the pressure, but it was ridiculous how many times it was 3 times that she missed her deadlines, and those were deadlines that she had given, and she missed them. And it was bad. But the thing is that we had backup plans as a result of this, and we knew if this was going to fail or who knows what would happen. I didn't even know if she was capable of doing an appraisal. And it came back okay. And we were just, we weren't sure which way to go. But we had alternatives, and that's what we look at very closely, is we're always looking at risk and what the alternatives are, and we always have backup plans in the event something goes sideways. And we were all relying on this one person. I had a group of professionals just relying on this one person. Now, lending institutions only pay these appraisers a few $100s, and they might spend basically 8 hours, 10 hours, it depends, and then they have to go out to the house, so it's driving, walking the property, taking pictures, so they might spend 8 hours, 10 hours, I'm not sure, it depends on the person. But so it chews up a lot of their time, and they're not getting paid a lot of money. So sometimes the quality of the individual doing this is not the highest quality. It's just the way it is. Now, I've had some really good appraisals and appraisers, but I've had some really that were really not good at all. But that's the way it is. We're all dependent on that. And for us to do a cash deal, we could definitely use the money out of our bank account if we have to, and that's what we were going to probably have to do in the event that it came close to day 10 and we were still waiting. So we had two backup plans. One is to use the cash on hand, which we had more than enough to cover it, or to use a second line of credit for this. So either way, we had it covered. It's just we were going through a lot, and we didn't want the seller to be frustrated. And I don't know what the attorney was saying, but the attorney was probably just talking to the power of attorney, the grandson. So he was insulating his grandmother a lot, which was good, because there was just things going back and forth with that attorney that was just very frustrating. They hung up on my paralegal, and they were just totally unprofessional and just horrendous to work for or with. So that's where we are with that. But we overcame it, and that's the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing, and is to rise above these setbacks. And all organizations have problems at some time, not because they're not good organizations, but you're dependent on people. One time I had a business. I was up for a business trip in Connecticut. I was at the end of the night. I was sitting at the bar having something to eat, and I was talking to a gentleman, and he was doing importing from China, and he was frustrated, and in terms of the quality and a couple other things. And I said, well, what's your biggest problem? He said, well, he said something else, and I said, that's not your biggest problem. That's not anyone's biggest problem. The biggest problem anyone has is people. Because in the end, like technology or anything else, there's always problems with that. But it's people. And depending on a particular day, someone might have had a bad morning, or something tragic could have happened, or any type of scenario. And it's gonna impact work. That's just the way it is. You never know when you're a manager or leader, when people come in, what's going to happen or what they went through. And it's how you overcome those, and how your organization understands those and is able to go around it and help that individual, as well as to ensure that you have proper service. So it's always a balancing act. But in the end, we have a great team, and I'm very proud of it. And if there are problems, we come to and rise above those problems. So I'm going to have to close out this session. Again, thank you very much. Again, if you have to reach us, 973-240-8593 or TemplarCashForHouses.com. Have a great 4th of July. God bless and take care, everyone. Bye.
Life can be a roller coaster, and sometimes you need to sell your house fast. That's why there's TemplarBuysHouses.com. Maybe you're downsizing, getting a divorce, having health or financial issues. If so, head to TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com will buy your house quickly and without hassle. If you've inherited a house that is vacant, contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. Dealing with them is easy and quick. No high-pressure sales tactics, and you won't have to fix up the house. They will buy your house as is. You pick the closing date and when you move out. No commissions and no hassles. Contact TemplarBuysHouses.com. TemplarBuysHouses.com. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Call 973-315-7990. That's 973-315-7990.
Be sure to listen to the podcast of the Templar Real Estate Talk Show. Find it now at TemplarBuysHouses.com.
The preceding program was paid for by Templar Real Estate. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major decision.